Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch and how you can discover this new level of softness with their iconic sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% responded that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They source the rarest 100% organic cotton for an incredible softness to start. Then they skip the toxins and harsh chemicals for a natural feel unlike anything else, and it all comes together with their signature weave. This special design feels buttery, breathable, and unlocks new levels of softness with every wash, and they stand behind their promise of softness. With their 30-night guarantee, you can wash, style, and sleep in their sheets for an entire month. If during the 30 nights, you don't love your sheets or feel them getting softer and softer, you can send them right back. No questions asked. So head to bollandbranch.com for 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. That's BOLL and branch.com. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
The following is a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowercat.com's Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowercat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Insiders Podcast, brought to you by Commerce Bank. Tim Fitzgerald, Matt Walters, Ryan Black, and today sitting in for Kellis Robinette, who's on daddy duty. It seems like Manhattan schools have a lot of Mondays off. I wish I'd gone to Manhattan schools. But we get Riley Gates.
Woo!
That was about all the excitement we could muster right there. And it was from Riley.
You got a cold or what?
Yeah, you know, we made fun of Catfish last week for being out sick, and then about
enemies, Catfish?
Wednesday, I started feeling a little down. It's never been bad, but I got that great voice right now.
It does. Yeah, it actually makes your voice sound better.
I know. I wish I had.
Well, I mean,
voice.
just for this purposes. I don't mean just.
You heard that, right?
It sounds tired.
Yeah, screw you, Catfish. Yeah, I tell you what, it never got really bad. It's just been a hacking cough trying to get out of me. But
it's the cold and flu season. I think I speak for the whole platoon when I say we should all be better rested.
Platoon, that's a great word.
Yeah,
sure.
See, I think even your appendix bursting was a sign of, hey, football season's over. I can do this now.
I'm just glad it didn't happen in Memphis.
Yeah, that would have been a disaster.
That would have stunk.
Yeah, based on what I had, you could have become Memphis Barbecue.
No, you could have gone on St. Jude's.
Did you know that your appendix can have a stone in it?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Mine did.
Yeah, I was going to say, did
like
yours?
a kidney stone.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's very interesting.
It's painful is what it is.
Yep.
Well, no, but he was asking specifically about the stone thing.
That's fair.
Was that part painful?
I didn't know there was one in
Okay.
it, but the rupturing part of it in the next 2 to 3 days was, not a whole lot of fun.
Glad you're with us.
I'd rather the doctors here work on me. No offense, but I didn't want the doctors in Memphis, so really glad it happened here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Here we go. Ice is melting. Will the ice melt for Kansas State basketball? We'll get into that and a lot more here on the Insiders Podcast, brought to you by Commerce.
Which has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank, challenge accepted.
Yeah, Ryan, I wish I could figure out how to keep my voice right here in this register.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that episode of Friends where Phoebe gets sick. She has a really good singing voice, and then she tries to get herself sick again.
And, yeah.
It's not a good idea, so I suggest once you're feeling better, you don't try to keep your voice like that.
No.
You're a Friends guy?
I like Friends.
Because, it's funny you bring this up.
He's kind of the Ross of the office.
Well, it's just that I've told a couple people this, is that at least when I was in college, that seemed to be the most popular show just for girls who were in college at that time, was that, that would be the show that everyone had to watch was Friends. I've actually never seen an episode of it.
Never?
Not one.
I'm sorry to say they took it off Netflix, so
I think I remember you tweeting about that.
Buy some DVDs now.
That's too bad. Now everyone knows what to get you for Christmas.
Has it helped you pick up chicks? That you can sit there and talk? Because isn't that the thing about Friends? Is like every episode's called The One with the Blank.
Yep.
So what was this episode called? The One with her voice or something?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know it that well.
All right.
Remember, Fitz called him the Ross of the office.
Well, he doesn't get the reference.
Well, wait, but I wouldn't know what that meant.
Oh, that's true.
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
That's
Just watch
true.
TBS.
Speaking of playing like Ross on the basketball court, the Kansas State basketball team went to Texas and lost 64-50. I'm wearing my glasses and I can't read this box score. Can a cold throw your eyesight off?
I don't know. You
sure
don't have
they're
very
your
good
glasses?
eyesight anyways.
Yeah, they're my glasses.
Okay.
Man, guys, it was a good game for one half. No wonder I can't read anything. That's the women's box score.
Goodness gracious.
I'm a mess.
What do you want to know? We can read
The
it.
first half was good. I mean, Kansas State, everyone, by Kansas
fine.
State standards, it was good. They were in the game, they were competing, and then all hell broke loose in the start of the second half, and they couldn't make shots, they couldn't stop Texas. Guys, Texas is bad, and they won by 14 points. They were ahead by, what, almost 20? Did they get up by 20?
Got close.
How bad is this?
Well, I guess it depends on how much of an excuse do you give them for the travel stuff at all. I don't know. None.
I don't, because Bruce didn't lean on it.
Okay.
He straight up said it. He's like, you can bring it up, but we've had to do it before. He mentioned they did it in Rome or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember him saying that.
So I mean, that
When in Rome.
I'm sure it wasn't great, but I also don't think that they would have lost by 2 points or won the game had they been there a day earlier or whatever.
Okay. I just didn't know
That's
if you
just my
guys
opinion.
gave that any credence at all.
It's really bad for me because you start 0-3 and now you're facing the toughest 3-game stretch of your schedule.
I guess if this had been a really good team and they went down there and played like that, I might believe that.
Fair.
But I can't sit here and say that if they had no travel issues, would they have lost by less than 14 points?
Right.
It's just not good right now. It's pretty basic. They can't score. I don't care what level of basketball you're playing at. If you don't have guys that can put the basketball in the basket, you're going to be in trouble, and that's what
It's an offensively challenged team. And, again, you look at it's one of those games where McCall's on the floor for 10 minutes, and he did not give Kansas State a lot of help. Stockard winds up coming off the bench and playing about 29 and a half minutes. Dejuan Gordon doesn't start. He plays about 27 and a half minutes, and his effort – I think his effort is ramped up defensively. He's not a gifted scorer right now, and it's just, I don't know, one step forward, 2 steps back. They do some good things, but they just can't do it for extended periods of time. This is not a team that's blessed with a great three-point shooter. It's not blessed with a great guy inside. Xavier's trying to carry the load, and it's not going well for him. I mean, when Xavier Sneed scores 5 points in any game the rest of the way, odds are Kansas State's probably not going to win that game.
Your 2 guys you wanted to lean on with scoring went 7 of 24, including scoring 1 of 8, 1 of 5 from 3.
Oof.
It's amazing to me. Let's see, 13, 24. The rest of the team was 13 of 30. Not great, but okay. It's okay. It's pushing 50%. Not quite there. I mean, it's just frustrating to watch. It's the upperclassmen. I mean, you throw in Mack, he was 1 of 3. So I bet you if you looked at everyone else, they were at 50% then. Those are your 3 guys you thought you had. You knew what you had. You knew what those 3 were, and they're not that at all.
Not even close. Not even close.
Should we just spend the next 10 minutes of the segment with dead air as we search for explanations? We can just sit here and make sounds like,
That's the thing. I don't.
Here's what I'm getting at. There's something more at work here. There's just got to be something going on. Mac doesn't look the same physically or mentally. He just doesn't look checked in. He doesn't look as athletic as he has in the past, as big as he has in the past, and I mean that in a positive way. Meaning there's just clearly something going on with this team that is unspoken of outside that locker room.
Something's up. Something's definitely up. And it's maddening to know that this team has, like you said, you knew what they had coming into it, and then those guys aren't making those plays. And then the guys that you have to the fact that Bruce Weber comes on the radio and says that the true freshman is the leader, and he doesn't know if the older guys would like that. Look, a few people said you can kind of read into that quote a different way if you want to take it a positive way or a negative way. I took it a negative way. They should be all about that. If a freshman's stepping up and he says, I want to lead, I want to be the guy in charge here, then it should push the upperclassmen to be better. Not, well, we don't like the fact that a freshman's taking our team over.
I would say, because I know it seems like we've discussed this so many times, I mean, the stuff with Mac is just it's bizarre. I think we've discussed it a couple times. I'm not sure I've ever seen a player take this big a step back, from junior to senior season in any sport that I can ever recall. But then, I'll be honest, I didn't foresee the issues with Cardi that we seem to constantly hear about via Bruce's, basically calling him out in a lot of press conferences. I guess I really thought that he was going to step up and be a very consistent leader, and I'm not sure exactly why that hasn't happened. I don't know, because personally I'm a big fan of Cardi, and so I guess I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, I think it's what you guys are kind of referring to is there's just some weird stuff going on within the confines of this team right now.
Matt, can it be fixed?
By when?
I guess that's a good question. What is the measurement of progress and fixing and those type of things? I think that I see what you were talking about, the Dejuan Gordon comment by Bruce. I see it as a negative in the fact that a freshman has to become a vocal leader in practice. I see it as a big negative that the seniors push back. I know as a senior, you don't want some punk freshman coming in and telling you what to do, but if there's a void on a team, you would think these guys have enough team concept here.
So let me bring a different branch off of that topic of Dejuan Gordon becoming a leader on this team. Is Dejuan Gordon becoming a leader verbally, or is he becoming a leader by his play? Because at the defensive end of the floor, the guy gets after it more so than anybody else.
It's amazing.
So part of me thinks that the Dejuan Gordon becoming a leader is more by what he's doing as opposed to what he's saying. Because I don't know that he's the most vocal guy in the world.
Bruce's comment, it sounded like he's demanding things of...
He's probably getting there.
Yeah.
I would say we're not in practice, obviously. I would say he's probably very vocal in practice.
Let's be honest, when I played basketball, I was barely in practice.
Now, I think for down the road, in terms of the by when response to your question, if you're looking down the road to next year, which I know it's early or mid-January and that's hard to do, that's going to be a really good thing. But
I agree.
I don't know. I don't know how many of these fixable things you can actually fix this year. It's just it may be one of those years.
I don't know if it's more like I'm tending to lean more that it's not something that is a quote unquote fixable problem. I think this is the problem that we've been outlining for years, not years. Most of last year, a little bit of the year before that was. We all saw this coming. We all saw the type of players they had after Dean, Barry, and Cam left, and we were all accepting of it. And this is where the fan base kind of split a little bit. People were accused of being too negative about recruiting, things like that. We've known for a while that some of these players just aren't that guy. We've known that Cartier-Jada is not a true point guard, but the pressure was taken off of him with Kamal Stokes on the roster last year. And I think things like that, McCall Mayween doesn't have Dean Wade to lean on, so then all the pressure's on him down low. I don't know how many of those problems are fixable. I tend to lean more in the fact that some of those are just kind of the type of player they are, and maybe they're not starting Big 12 point guards and shooting guards and things like that. And that's just kind of the hand you're dealt right now. And that's why I'm not shocked that they went down to Texas and lost by 14. And I'm not shocked by whatever will happen on Tuesday, because this is just what we've come to expect. I mean, if you're not coming to expect that by now with this team, it's just kind of where they're at.
When you think about K-State football this past year with a new coaching staff and a team that didn't have the talent, let's say, that everybody else did, we all said the margin for error for the football team was pretty small.
Yeah.
Well, it's razor thin for this team.
Right.
I mean, they literally have to play close to perfect to be in some of these games and to have a shot. I mean, did you look at Baylor over the weekend or last week? Yeah. Going to Lubbock and going to Lawrence?
It's a pretty impressive week.
I mean, Kansas State has to shoot it well. Turnovers have to be down. High assist totals. I mean, in the game Saturday, they didn't even reach double digits. They had 9 assists in the ballgame.
5 from one guy.
5 from one dude. And it's a case of this team's got to have 5 or 6 guys dialed in every night to have a chance. They can't. And right now they've got maybe one or 2 guys dialed in per game.
Can you imagine where this team would be if Xavier Sneed hadn't withdrawn from the NBA draft stuff?
You'd be seeing. Would it be much worse? How many games has he won?
But I'm saying he's at least,
he helps. Don't get me wrong.
Consistent score, at least.
Yeah, it's frightening.
Can I backtrack again for just a moment?
Sure, keep
with
going.
Everything that's been said, what you just said, Catfish, and what you just said, Riley. What's this team's record right now? 7-8.
7-8, yeah.
6 of the losses are by 6 points or less.
That's incredible.
So if this team tightens up just a couple of screws, maybe they're 10-5, maybe they're 11-4.
Yeah.
But that shows you how fragile. Well, when I say fragile, just how much this team's got to be on the same page every time they step on the floor, because if they're not going to win games.
And that is something that needs to be said, and I'm glad you brought it up, is just that it's not as if Saturday was more of an outlier than anything else in terms of the other losses they have had this year outside of Bradley have been very close losses. Things that just if they hadn't collapsed at Oklahoma in the last 3:45, I mean, they're up by 7 and lose by 6. And so it's just, there are so many games you go back to this year, and you just look at, if just a couple of possessions had gone differently, like I said, K-State would be, at least you'd say, 3 games over 500, if not better.
Well, I think that's the frustrating part about being so close to 3 or 4 more wins, is that the closeness hasn't been like, oh man, we had a shot there and it just didn't fall, or we got a tough officiating call down this. The frustrating part of it is that you had the scoreless possession at Oklahoma, and you went 8 minutes without a point against Texas. So yes, you are certainly right there, and I agree they could be 3-4 wins better. It's how those close losses happen that just makes you bang your head against a wall.
And there have been enough of them so far through 15 games, you don't know that they can get it turned around. I mean, you have to understand your role. You have to understand what's expected of you. What's a good shot? What's a bad shot? What's a good pass? What's a bad pass? And that's where all these little things have cropped up, and why this team is 7-8 now.
I mean, I would say, not that all losses aren't frustrating to an extent, but the 3 that would be the most is, Pittsburgh, Mississippi State, Oklahoma. All 3 of those, they have 10-point leads at some point during the game, and they still lose.
One of the things that Bill Snyder almost always did, that I see in Bruce, is he gives his team a chance to win. We're going to manipulate this game in a way that in the final 4 minutes, or the second half, the fourth quarter, if you're football, we're going to be within striking distance, if not in the lead. And that's what Bruce does. He gives them an opportunity to be in the game by the way he's taught this team to defend.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Right. People don't typically pull away from Kansas State because the defense is so good. The defense was still fairly good at Texas. I mean, holding a team to 64 points should be an attainable score by any offensive standards. But for this team, it's not realistic. They're constantly hovering around the 50 to 60 barrier.
This was an uncharacteristically bad defensive game for them, though. I mean, you see Texas shoots 49% overall, and right at 50% both halves.
They limit possessions. Yeah. They do the things you need to do to let your team be in the game. But, when Kansas State just can't put the ball in the hole, I mean, they ended up shooting 37% from the field, 30% in the second half.
And Texas had 10 threes, so it was falling for them.
Oh, it was. They were just wolfing up threes at the buzzer.
That one at the end of the half was brutal. It was a brutal 3.
Made 3 of them the first 3 possessions of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, you can just go back and look at a handful of moments in the game, because there was another buzzer beater on the shot clock in the second half that was enormous. And we're talking now 15 points, just the ones we pointed out. So you got to have some fortune. Unfortunately for this team, they're not a good enough shooting team to have that kind of fortune from 3-point range. I mean, they're just not going to hit a bunch of those. They're just not skilled enough. Well, if you're looking for a quick cure, it may not come this week. Texas Tech on Tuesday, West Virginia on Saturday, both inside of the Octagon of Gloom. That's what's probably most frightening about this 0-3 start, is they haven't run into the Big Four, so to speak. TCU might be trying to elbow their way into a Big Five. But 2 of them are in this week. This is huge. And being 0-5 is just unthinkable, but it's facing them. Can they steal one of these, and how important would it be? Could it really change the fortune of this team knowing that they could beat one of those 4 teams?
If they're going to steal one, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not going to beat West Virginia.
No, they're just
Oscar Tshiebwe is going to have maybe a triple-double. I don't know. I'm half joking. I'm half serious. That guy's insane.
I'll bet he can get a 20-20. 20 point, 20 rebound.
Really close. I wouldn't be shocked.
I don't know how they're going to defend that front line.
They won't.
The physical nature of West Virginia is going to be
the key for this
difficult.
Texas Tech game is the fact that it's, as we know, 2 defensive teams going at it. Chris Beard still is a top 20 in defensive efficiency right now. I'm just doing that research. I don't know what K-State is. They might be close. I don't know. But when you put 2 defensive head coaches together, it's going to be close. I mean, I think that's why K-State and Texas Tech battled so hard in last year's game. I mean, I thought Texas Tech was a significantly better team last year, but K-State, obviously found a way to fight them hard all the time. And so I think that if you can kind of muddy it up, you force Texas Tech to miss some shots because you're not going to outscore them. It's not going to be a shootout. So if you can get in there and play really good defense, then maybe you have a chance. But like I said, if they're going to win one of the next 3, because KU's next week, it's going to be this one against Texas Tech.
Oh, Lord. I forgot about that. Well, by nature, Kansas State muddies it up. That's how they play. They focus on defense, and they kind of are in scramble mode on the offensive end of the floor. It's a huge week for Kansas State basketball. The Wildcats are 7-8 on the season, 0-3 in Big 12 play with 2 home games this week. Hopefully people can get out to Bramlage Coliseum and support the team. They need one. They just desperately need one. Let's take a little break right now on the Insiders Podcast. On the other side, we're going to touch on the women's team and get into some other things as we try to change the topic from what has turned out to be a rather depressing Kansas State basketball season. We're sponsored by Commerce Bank, and we will be right back.
Stay locked in. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC gig-powered studios.
Welcome back to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank. We just spent 20 minutes talking about the men's basketball team, and I think we solved it. It's all solved. They can score more points than their opponents.
Yes.
We got to boil down to that. Let's stick with basketball, though, guys, as the women's basketball team went to Lubbock on Saturday. And got
yes,
a huge
that was also
win.
Saturday, earlier in the day.
That's right. 76-72, a huge win on the road for the women's team that dropped Texas Tech to 12-2 and lifted the women, K-State women, to 7-6. They also have had their struggles this year with injuries and et cetera. But what they do have is two really good players on the front line, Peyton Williams and Akoya Lee.
Ayoka.
I got my K and my Y backwards.
Yeah, that was
not Christian.
That wasn't even just a mispronunciation. I think you had a little moment of dyslexia.
I did. Ayoka Lee. Wow, man. I totally looked at that and my brain went backwards. They combined for 41 and 17. 41 points between them, 21 for Williams, 20 for Lee, and then 8 and 9 rebounds.
They're both averaging double-doubles right now.
It's pretty impressive.
It is.
Only duo in the country, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah, entering last week they were.
They're solid. That is a good win. Texas Tech is vastly better. Their roster, the Lady Raiders roster, looks dramatically different than it did a year ago, and that's kind of been the case down there for a while now. But, Kansas State struggled at home against West Virginia, which West Virginia's got one of the best players in the league in Tynese Martin. But to go down and get that one, very good win for the women. And K-State's got to get the points from both Lee and Williams, and then if they can get some points now from the perimeter with Rachel Ranke being hurt and out for the year, if Chrissy Carr can start shooting it better, and she's struggled of late, the team's going to be all right. They're not going to maybe endure some of the difficulties that the men are, but they've got a great 1-2 tandem inside.
This is monkey off the back, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
They were preseason number 5 in the conference, and they had not looked anywhere near number 5 in the conference to point. And
nope.
Very disappointing. And even before Rachel got hurt, they were still not looking very good. And so this was a big one. I think it gets you that confidence. And we saw that with this team last year. I think it was like February or something. They rattle off 8 of the last 9 or whatever the winning streak down the stretch was. And so it's all about confidence with a team like this. And I think Matt said it best. It's kind of revolves around Chrissy Carr for me, because if you've watched the team at all, you're going to get productive games from Peyton Williams and Ayoka Lee a lot, but you got to have somebody hitting that outside shot to open that up down low, and she's been rather disappointing this year, honestly. 5-star recruit in her second year, and she's needed to step up, and so if she can start knocking out some shots, I'd feel really good about where this team's headed. But so that's my alarm right now, but it's definitely a big win for them.
Yeah, I forgot the exact stat that you're referring to from last year, Riley. Like it was either 8 of 9 or 9 of 10, and basically it was the 2 losses in that stretch were both to Baylor. Once here at home, and then once in the Big 12 tournament. I think it was the semifinals that they lost to Baylor. And the thing that I've talked about with Greg Woods and my now former writer Sean Collins, who's now covering video games. So kids who are listening to this, you can get a career covering video games.
The world's changing, Matt.
For the Dallas Morning News. But it's just that Riley, I keep thinking back on if this team had Lee last year. I mean, they still wouldn't have beat Baylor, but they would have been, I think, solidly number 2. Because Goth was just so consistent every game.
Well, I'm glad you say her name, Catfish, because...
Who, Kayla Goth or Lee?
Yeah, Kayla Goth, because that's where, with Ranky now being out for the year, what Angela Harris does is going to determine what this team does. Now, in the first couple of Big 12 games, she's been in double figures. She's taking more shots. She's not Kayla Goth, but... if she can take more ownership and be what you expect from a point guard the rest of the way, then this team's going to be better. You look at her line score from Tech, 7 of 12 from the field. She only hit 1 3. She's not a great three-point shooter. She can get to the line a little bit, but she had 6 assists and 3 steals in the game.
1 turnover.
And she played 33 minutes. So if she produces, maybe that makes up a little bit for Chrissy Carr, but now, I think that the light came on here in this stretch where they only have to deal with basketball and no classwork. I think she understands what she needs to be now for this team.
Well, things have just shifted for me because I came into the season thinking, okay, well, Kayla Goth's gone. And so last year it had been her and Peyton Williams. And then it was like from there, who could they get production from, be it Ranky, Christiana Carr, whoever it may be. And now it's shifted. So, well, Peyton's still there, but now it's like Lee is the other one you count on. And now it's, is it going to be Chrissy Carr? Who's like I said, I just think expectations have shifted for her in terms of I mean, they've got to be super high when she's, the most highly regarded player they've ever signed.
Chrissy?
Yeah, in the history of the program. And like I said, she's had some bright spots here and there, but she certainly has not been producing at the level you expect given what she came in as. And I'm not saying she still can't get there, but I'm saying that if they want to still finish 5th or better that, she's going to have to step up, or like you said, Harris or somebody's going to have to start being consistent to help out the two forwards.
They need to beat people they're supposed to beat and then steal 1 or 2 from those above them.
And that's why this week is big. I'm just looking at it here. They got Oklahoma State on Wednesday in Bramlage, and that's, just as good, if not better, than Oklahoma State. Probably better than Oklahoma State.
They should be.
Oklahoma State should have beaten Oklahoma last week. They got beat at the buzzer. They got routed by Baylor yesterday. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma beat Iowa State. Iowa State's down. Trust me, and I know you guys know this, it is Baylor, and then it is a long ways between them and number 2.
Any team that wins at UConn has proven nationally that they are the team now.
As if the national championship last year wasn't enough beating UConn.
Yeah, but it's weird. And then in the women's world, winning at UConn is just unheard of.
Well, I didn't even know until I saw it last night when I was watching ESPN, but I didn't know Notre Dame's not even ranked.
No, they're terrible. They're terrible.
Man, that's shocking.
They're having the kind of year like the K-State men are. They're struggling. At Texas's women are okay.
Oh, I think you mentioned. I think West Virginia's probably number 2 in the conference.
Virginia right now
they're probably going to be the runner-up.
This is the Powercat Insiders Podcast. We're sponsored by Commerce Bank.
Whatever financial challenges come your way, Commerce Bank can help. Commerce Bank, challenge accepted.
Yeah, Matt, apparently esports is now sports, and so his former sports writer has moved on to the Dallas Morning News, a move that doesn't happen very often in the world of sports. The Manhattan Mercury to the Dallas Morning News to cover
video.
Thank you for reminding me of this.
It's just unheard of.
Well, it's wild. I'm happy for him. it's not fun being the only person full time in the sports section right now, but it's what he wanted to do, and so I'm going to be interested to see how. Because guys. I don't know, Riley, how different you are in this regard, but I don't follow video games or really play them at all.
I play them. I didn't.
So when we talk about esports, are these sports-based video games or anything?
I think it's more like that.
It's anything. People do like Madden tournaments every now and then for money, but for the most part, esports is like
that League of Legends.
Yeah,
and
Fortnite got there for a while.
What's the one that was really popular a decade ago?
Insane.
World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah,
those kind of things. Like where there's
was Sean big into video games?
Well, he didn't talk about it, but he
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Has like some kind of Twitch account, and I hope that's not one of the bad ones. That's not one of the.
No, Twitch is gaming here, right?
Okay, good. So he has like an account.
In my head, I don't know.
How would I know that if you don't know that?
I don't know.
I just scared myself.
I just bought a PlayStation.
I know.
I just bought a PlayStation 3 yesterday so I could play NCAA.
Wow, you're going up in the world.
Back to go up.
Yeah, I know.
But guys, you know what's funny though is that I saw an article, and this would have been months ago, and I was joking about it with Sean, is that in this most recent national champion or world championship of video games, they had like a tie for first place, and the guy who tied was 23, and he's like, and I'm really glad to be representing the old guys here. Like, it's like all the best players are like 18 and younger. So once you get to your 20s, you're like washed.
Oof. It's a great world we're
in professional video games. But like the first prize, I think, was like $250,000.
I'm going to ask this sincerely. Why?
What?
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
What?
If Matt Walters at above 35 decided to become a gaming guy and got on there and played, is his reaction time really that much worse than an 18-year-old's?
I just don't know enough about it to even tell you. I couldn't even. I don't even know. I just know nothing. I know nothing about esports.
Here's my great conspiracy theory: that this e-world that's been created is preparing for the world's most amazing military, in which you actually don't fight drones or
I mean, we're already kind of going to that,
whatever,
like you said, to an extent.
And a bunch of 18 to 23-year-olds sit in rooms and wage war.
Unmanned warfare. Yeah. That's what they're saying is going to happen with the trucking industry. You're going to have someone sitting in an office, and they're going to be driving the truck, and then all that happens is that you unload it. Like, that'll be the only real people involved in trucking.
I don't want to see that.
They'll figure, I don't want those trucks on the road with me. I know that.
Well, I mean, when people can hack into the most sophisticated, government systems in the world, all it needs is one person to get in there and cause havoc on the highways.
Well, you just hack a truck and you've got a bunch of new TVs to unload. It's going to be a whole new world. Matt, let's get into that. Modern mafia. We'll hire hackers, and instead of like hijacking the trucks, we'll actually just steal the trucks via the internet.
I'm good.
Where did this podcast go?
Off the rails. Do you have a rant, Catfish?
I'm trying to conserve my voice after a down last week. I would just say, how about his Ryan's
Princess Catfish?
Well, just like he's thankful for modern medicine.
There you go.
What all do you go? What's your go-to drugs?
My go-to drugs. I'm a real ibuprofen guy.
Thank God we run this show and we can say what we want.
I know.
I might toss an antihistamine if I'm feeling really frisky.
I was just disappointed you weren't here last week because you posted that you were upset about pets being in hotels and waking you up, and so I thought that'd be a
this dog
great
would
rant.
just not stop barking, guys.
Where was this at?
This was in Oklahoma City.
Oh.
For because I flew from. So this was my itinerary after the game, by the way. So
yeah, I've been wanting to figure this out, by the way. Please explain
Yeah,
this.
okay. Well, okay. So the day after the game, I go to Graceland, which was great. Really enjoyed it. Then I went back home for a few more days. So that's a 7-hour drive back to Georgia. Spent a few more days with family, and then went to Atlanta and flew from Atlanta to Oklahoma City. Okay. And then got a one-way rental to drive back here.
And you flew from the St. Louis game in basketball, you flew to Atlanta and then drove to the Liberty Bowl.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I was having a lot of trouble tracking your travel here because I didn't know you went back.
Where was your car during this time?
Which car?
Yeah, you went from
Kansas City. What car did you take?
Oh, yeah, I rode with Greg Woods.
Oh. Okay, so you're close.
Yeah, and then I just took
Uber.
I took a shuttle from Kansas City up to the airport.
Nice.
It's like only $1.25 to ride on a bus.
Really?
From the center, like right up the street from the Sprint Center, I took a bus for $1.25. And I'm like, "Are you sure this is all it costs?" He's like, "Yeah, it's just $1.25."
Did you notice how to hijack it?
Well, they do have them behind one of those protective glasses. So I mean, I would have had to really want to drive a bus badly.
You're not that kind of guy.
I'm not. Wasn't that the plot of a movie with
Speed?
Speed, yeah, with the Keanu Reeves.
It was great.
Great movie.
There we go. We're planning crimes here on the Insiders Podcast. The good news is after talking about the men's basketball team, not many people are listening right now, so nobody will be able to turn us in.
Esports, though, guys, wow.
It's incredible. I remember back in the day, I proposed to a boss that we do a simulated season for Kansas State football off, I can't remember what platform. It wasn't E. It was before E. And he said, that's silly. Now, it is a sport. It's not just like part of coverage, simulating games, which is pretty common now.
Colleges have esports teams.
That's crazy.
Oh, but think about the dogs. See, I mean, it's like, so, I mean, I get into the hotel, guys. I mean, hold on. I get into the hotel at because, oh, by the way, the plane because it was Atlanta to Dallas and then Dallas to Oklahoma City, so I had a connecting flight. The plane in Dallas it was like an hour late. Oh, no, well, hold on. All right. So now I got a whole story, I guess I should have. So I call, because I knew I was going to be late to Oklahoma City. I call Enterprise, and I'm like, hey, it says you guys close at midnight. My flight is not even going to get in until like 12:30. Is there going to be someone there? Oh, I shouldn't have said their name. My car rental place, if we can edit that out.
It's all right.
And so I call this corporate company and to say, hey, I need to be able to get my car. And they're like, oh, don't worry, Mr. Black. Well, there will be someone there because they knew that your flight was delayed. Well, it was one of those off, like the KCI one, or MCI. It's one of those off the main. You have to take a shuttle to get to it. So, of course, I get there, and no one's there. And I am extremely upset. And so then I call the corporate office back, and they're like, well, let's see what we can do for you, Mr. Black. Well, then the person from this company comes back in, and he's like, oh, I was making sure I didn't leave anything, but I can get you into a car. So I appreciated that. But then I finally get to my hotel.
That was very enterprising of you.
Yeah, well, I finally get to my hotel, and I'm trying to go to sleep. And I do, but it's like so I guess I got there at like 2 a.m. or whatever to the hotel. And I sleep for like 6 hours where there's a dog in the room below me because I was on the second floor. And it's one of those little yappy rat dogs. That's what I call them. Like anything that's like this big, that's like bigger than
an ankle biter.
Yeah. It was just one of those. And like I kept waiting for it to shut up. And then I finally called downstairs and said, there are people trying to sleep. I don't dislike animals, but they just need to be more respectful of other guests. And then the guy said, yeah, well, Mr. Black, I'll get back to you. And then the woman took the dogs outside, which I appreciated. But I'm just always, and like, I don't want to make anybody mad on this podcast who listens to it, or even if you guys do. My thing is, if you have a dog that's smaller than a cat, then you don't really have a dog.
Hot take.
That's my hot take. It's like, get a real dog.
I got real dogs. They're poodles.
You know, it's like, and I'm not saying I want a St. Bernard, but I've just always said I want a golden retriever or a lab.
I think I got you 3 rants out of that.
Oh,
it was like rant on rant.
Well, but I didn't think the travel thing was really much of a rant. It was more of just explaining my itinerary.
Rant at Enterprise.
Felt kind of ranty to me.
Well,
it was good.
Did your car have a paper bag wrapped around it?
Oh no! Oh, okay, that was a good reference. The old, yeah. That was good.
Very good.
I always laughed about how they could see out of those. Did you ever notice on the commercial, like you could
just
not
the windshield?
Yeah, it's wild. I think it was a Ford Thunderbird. What it looked like, the shape of the car, by the way.
We are way so far
Done.
in the weeds. Well, folks, hopefully Kansas State basketball can get a win this week. Heaven knows they need it. They just need something positive. It's kind of spiraling. It kind of feels like a patient who has one thing go wrong, and then that sets off something else, and then something else. And
it's like a game of operation.
I know. It's just not. It's not good. It's so frustrating to watch a team that isn't fully cohesive. There's just something going on. We may never know what it is. Fans still to this day don't know everything that went on with the Marcus Foster thing, but I don't think any of that's going on. I just think there's personality conflicts and guys that envision things differently than other guys, or maybe even other than the coaches, and it just isn't meshing very well. Very frustrating. But next week, after a K-State basketball victory, this Insiders podcast will be much more upbeat. Go bank at Commerce. Take all of your money and give it to Matt Walters.
Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.